That's funny.
Hello and welcome everybody. I'm so excited to introduce you to Rachel Ballard. Hello, welcome Rachel.
Hi, Emma. Thank you for
Really,
having me.
you're really welcome. Rachel has a lovely website called Feast and Farm, and she gives beautiful recipes of how to cook real wholesome food and some lovely cookery books as well, for sale on her site. And Rachel and I met via my online cookery school, Get Going with Gaps, which is
Mhm.
available at timelesscookery.com. And Rachel has a really interesting story to share with everyone, which I hope will give people energy and, direction to steer them on a path of food as medicine, healing. So it's so lovely that you're here, Rachel. Thanks. Would you like to share with everyone maybe the beginning of your story?
Oh, yes. Well, for anyone who has any kind of chronic illness, finding the beginning is really hard because it's all just wrapped up in so many things. But, I always thought I was a pretty healthy person. I am, I'll just, a little background. I'm 42. I live in Kentucky in the United States, and I'm sorry for my accent if
I
it's
love it.
difficult for anyone. I'm sorry. I'll try to make sure it's easy to understand me. But I'm a nurse by training. I've been a nurse for 19 years. And so I had all of that traditional medical background in me, unfortunately. And I have three chronic autoimmune diseases. Now, telling you when they really started is kind of difficult as far as it's a layered thing, right? You get them and I started with irritable bowel when I was 20. But prior to that, I had, bronchitis every year as a child. What did my mom do? She gave me antibiotics. She thought that was the thing we do, and I've probably had 30 or 40 rounds of antibiotics over the course of my lifetime. That's what happens here. That's normal for everything, just have here. And so when my IBS started, they gave me anti-diarrheal medicines, and that's just what you did. We just put a band-aid on the symptom and we go on, right? So I had my first child. I was 26. I got Hashimoto's thyroiditis, so first autoimmune disease. And the doctors say, nothing you can do about it. Don't know what causes it. Don't know what happens. Here's your Synthroid. Take your medicine. End of story, right? If someone would have looked at me, 13 years ago and said, this is a sign your body is asking for help. Please, let's fix the problem. No, nobody did. I didn't know. Like, you don't know what you don't know, right? And so I went on and just did what I did. And then let's see, 3 years ago, I got up one morning and went to put the dishes in the cabinet, and all the muscles in the back of my shoulder, I couldn't get the dishes in. And I thought, what's wrong with my arm? And within 48 hours, my husband was carrying me. I had an acute case of Guillain-Barré Syndrome, and it had been triggered by, well, not just one thing, of course, but I had taken a hepatitis A vaccine about 6 weeks before. And as a nurse, I took every vaccine that came down the pipe. We had to. At the hospital, I worked in hospital, you have to have all the things. So I took all the shots, and I had taken that one. And I knew about 2 weeks after the shot that something was wrong with my face. I could feel a numbness, something here. And I said to my husband, I was like, something's wrong. And it was a couple weeks later that I went into acute Guillain-Barré, and I didn't even know what it was. It's what I have is so rare. So anyway, I laid on my porch swing. I never went to the doctor. I never went to hospital. I never did anything but lay there and pray not to die. I didn't know what was wrong, but I could feel the numbness working its way up from my feet, which is what Guillain-Barré does. It works its way up your legs until it gets to your diaphragm, and then it shuts off your ability to breathe. And you're on a ventilator for many, many weeks while they try to shut off whatever is wrong inside your body so that you stay alive. So most doctors that I meet don't know why I'm alive, because most people do not survive an acute case of Guillain-Barré syndrome laying on their porch swing. And so
That's That's the key.
Praying my heart out to just not die. That's what I was doing. And I gave my husband instructions. I said, whatever this is probably going to get to my diaphragm. When it does, you take me to the hospital because I don't know what else to do, but maybe tomorrow I'll be better. That's the way I think about everything, right? I think, well, I don't know what this is, but tomorrow I'll be better. If I just wait, I'll be better.
And
I could
that's such a key thing. We need to know that it's possible to get better. And if we don't believe that, there is no chance, because we are creators of our reality. And if we think, oh my God, I'm never going to get better, sure enough, so be it. And unfortunately, in the mainstream, they quite often tell you the worst possible case scenarios, because then they cover their backs. But then that really disempowers people from thinking, I am a powerful being with regenerative energies, and I can, so praying and having that attitude of tomorrow I'm going to feel better, it's just key, isn't it?
It is. And we think a lot of times that doctors are supposed to know, right? So when they tell you something terrible and ominous, you're like, oh, well, that must be true because they're supposed to know. They're not right. Okay, so I did finally see a doctor. We had spinal taps and terrible side effects from all of those things. I was bedfast and vomiting and deaf for almost 3 weeks after my spinal tap, and it was just terrible. And finally, they gave me a diagnosis of chronic inflammatory demyelinating polyneuropathy. It's a big old long name. It's CIDP for short. It affects about 6 in a million people worldwide. It's very rare, and it's absolutely devastating. It is progressive, terminal. There's 3 little Band-Aid treatments they give for it in Western medicine, and none of them are cures by any stretch.
So the only part of that I understood was demyelination, which is the myelin is the insulation around your nerves, like the plastic around an electrical wire, and it's made of fats, isn't it?
Yes.
And when people have multiple sclerosis, that is what degrades, and then they can't move properly and things like that. But it is possible to rebuild that insulation around your wire.
Yes. And so I have people who have MS, they lose the insulation around a different type of nerve, but mine does the exact same thing, just on a different nerve. So mine demyelinates what's called a Schwann cell, and MS demyelinates what we call the oligodendrocyte. So there's all the medical terms coming, but it's a different type of cell, but works almost exactly the same. And in my case, my immune system was eating that insulation off of my nerves, and I got a special type of the disease. It's even more rare in that mine is it's usually a disease that affects just the arms and legs primarily, but mine is also in my central nervous system. So it can get my vision, my hearing, my heart rate, my heart can stop, my digestive system can shut down. Anything it wants to do, it can do, right? So I have an even worse case. I tried the standard medicine. I did steroids. I did all that, but they were just Band-Aids, and I stayed sick, and the disease was just flying through my system. Every month I was losing more and losing more and losing more. I tried a medication called IVIG. It's immune globulins that they give to suppress the immune system. In about 25% of cases, it makes people worse, and I was so much worse. The first treatment, I lost all of my hamstring muscles. The second treatment, I lost all of my calf muscles. I couldn't walk. I couldn't hold my own toothbrush. My children, who are, they were 11 and 13 at the time, or 11 and 14, were dressing me, putting my shoes on me. I couldn't cook dinner. I was incredibly ill.
Wow.
Incredibly. I couldn't put my hands to
I had no idea it was so extreme, because the first I heard was when you posted to the Timeless Cookery Facebook page. It was the Get Going with Gaps group support for the course I ran, and you said, hey guys, because we all post our pictures of what we're having for dinner and what we're eating on Gaps, and encouragements to each other and failures and laughing and enjoying each other's company and supporting each other. And you posted, hey guys, today I wiggled my toes and I've been paralyzed for ages. And we were all like, woohoo! We didn't even know how bad it was, but we were like, she wiggled her toes. But my God, I mean, wow, Rachel, and look at you now. And then you sent me a little thing on Instagram on the thing, and you went, look at my walking. And I was just like, I cried actually when I saw it, because your little face, and you were just like, look at my walking. I'm just like, yeah, I'm walking.
I did. There is nothing scarier than losing your independence. There's nothing scarier than becoming dependent on someone else. And the disease that I have doesn't get talked about a lot. And so if you have a demyelinating disease, I don't care what kind it is. I don't care what autoimmune disease you have. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And a lot of times we wait on someone to give us a label, for a doctor to tell us this is your disease. Don't wait for that, right? Don't wait for someone to say, this is what you have, because you can take control of this, right? It's been almost a year since I have seen a doctor for my disease. They sent me home and said, we don't know what to do for you. You might as well just go home and die, because we can't treat you. We don't have anything to treat you. And I thought, I'm not going to go home and die. We're not going to do that. I'm going to figure something out.
The right attitude. Well done.
Yes. And I can't die. I have two children. I'm not interested in dying. The disease that I have usually affects 70-year-old men. And I was 39 when I got sick. So it's very, very rare and early, to have it like this. But I found a lovely, we have nutritional therapy practitioners here in the United States. So I have a nutritional therapist, and she's who treats me. And I don't take piles of supplements. I don't take piles of pills. She taught me, no, the best treatment is food, right? And because all the nutrients, all the things we need are bioavailable in their natural state. So let's get our food and let the food be the medicine. And the biggest message, I think, is really for me in that I don't do it perfectly. One thing I will say with GAPS, we make GAPS sound really intimidating and really hard a lot of times. And I have only ever
who are you talking about?
We Americans, I can tell you that, because what I have lots of cookbooks. I have all the things I thought I was supposed to study before I did anything. And I got the cookbooks, and it's like every recipe says you need to make 8 other recipes before you can make this recipe. Well, then you don't want to make anything, because you don't have fermented ketchup and fermented mustard and fermented. I couldn't do it, right? And so my practitioner said to start on full GAPS, because I was so sick. Some people can't start on the intro. I was so sick, I didn't need to be any sicker than I already was. And as your body is cleansing, you do get worse before you get better sometimes. And she said to me, let's just start on full GAPS. And I am 9 months into this journey. I have never done the intro. I probably will. And I have healed. I mean, I'm just so night and day different just on full GAPS.
So when in that process did you discover Timeless Cookery in my course then? That?
Let's see. I was probably 6 months, 5 or 6 months into things. And I was just feeling like I was overwhelmed with all the cookbooks and all the things and all the steps and all the recipes. And I thought, when I came into your course, what was so fabulous was that I, as a perfectionist, I think everything has to be a certain way. That's stressful to your body to be, it has to be just so all the time. So when I came in your course, I was like, watch how easy she makes this. I was so amazed with how easy you make GAPS. It's like, just chuck it in, chop it up and chuck it in. And it made it so easy for me to tell myself it doesn't have to be this rigid process. The food can be very simple. It doesn't have to be all these recipes. It doesn't have to be a million ingredients. I love that you don't measure so many things. You're like, just put it in there, stir it up, and what it looks like. And you gave us permission that when something didn't turn out just perfectly, that's okay. It's still, you can still eat it, whatever it is, just eat it. And I have just found such joy in that. And I have taken so many of those approaches from the course and just given myself the freedom to just create the food like instinctively almost. And it's just a freedom. Just throw it in the bowl, stir it up, let it wait, come back to it, whatever you want to do. And I don't have to feel so tied in by books and recipes and long lists of ingredients and all of those things. And it's just been wonderful for me. Wonderful.
I'm so happy. I'm really
Mhm.
happy that, yeah, I like to encourage people to use their senses first. Smell something, look at it. Don't be confined by sell-by dates or
Yeah.
use your senses. We need to come back to our senses
Yeah.
and start to really fully utilize them and enjoy them. And that's why we're here on earth, isn't it? Because we're sensual beings. We've got our sight, our smell, our taste, our hearing, our touch. We're supposed to sense what we're working with, and then to use our intuition. What do I feel like
Yes.
eating? And also, what have we got? What's out there? Is, it's seasonal. Okay, have I got any greens? Okay, I'm just going to pick some dandelion leaves and make it up as you go along. And then actually the kitchen can become a place of creativity rather than this kind of slavishly tied to the
Right. Yes.
kitchen sink, like, oh my God, what am I going to cook for now?
Yes.
That
Yes.
feeling. Who wants
Mhm.
that in their
Yeah.
life? What we want is to kind of go, I'm a bit peckish. Oh, let's see what there is in the cupboard. And then, have
Right.
that kind of a feeling. And also to
Yes.
bring the children into the cooking experience and, chop it up and chuck it in, stir it a bit and see what happens next. And if you do happen to leave it for a little while, hey, guess what? It's probably going to ferment a little bit. And what are we looking for on gaps? Fermented foods. Great.
Right. Yes, yes. And in my body, I think I was about 6 months into the GAPS diet. I told my best friend, I was sitting at her kitchen table and I said, I don't even know if this is working. I don't even know what's happening. And I think it took a little bit. You have to get ahead of your disease, whatever you've got, right? The more extreme it is, the longer it may take. But you've got to have patience with natural foods and with natural medicine. People think it's going to work just like taking a pill. It doesn't. You have to be so patient and you have to press through the doubt that you'll feel when you're like, I don't feel better. I don't, you may not in the beginning, right? But when you do, I was about I guess it's been about 2 months now when it finally got in front of this disease. Whoa, it's just been like, now the disease can't catch me, as I'm healing up and toes are starting to move. Now I've got 3 that are moving. My feet have been almost completely paralyzed. So I've got 3 that are moving, and you can't walk without toes. So I can't balance without toes, that sort of thing. So I'm able to go out in my garden again. I'm able to get things done around the house that I couldn't do before. I know when I would do laundry, my balance was so bad. I would hold onto the wall with one hand. I would reach into the washer and get one sock and try not to fall over while I put it in the dryer because I just couldn't do anything.
Wow.
And yeah, and now I'm like whole bundles of laundry walking through the house. I'm just so grateful to have my independence back.
Yeah. And have you been focusing on any kind of physical therapy as
I
well?
have what I do here, I laugh, we're farmers. So my life is physical therapy, whatever I can do. No, I have not had any formal physical therapy of any kind, but my nutritional therapist says, do whatever you feels good to you. Don't overexert your body. I know my adrenal glands are we're a little tired. Everything's a little tired. So I have to pace myself just because I feel like I want to do it. My body, it can be a little bit of a stress to my body to overdo things. So I have to go slowly, but I just living life is what I do.
And that's the best way to do exercise, isn't it? Walking up and down the stairs or going out to
Yes.
or picking up children, or this is
Yes.
just a normal thing. But I must admit, I do love a stretch. I love to do a bit of yoga. I like to salute the sun, and I like to touch my toes, and I like to stand on my head a bit, and I like that kind of thing. Tell me, do you use any kind of binders to help get stuff out of your system? That binders are things that hold on to toxins in the body and then helps the body excrete them, escort them to the exit and get them out safely.
We haven't done a whole lot yet. My practitioner has found a variety of things in my system. The first thing I had was such a broken down digestive system, so broken down that she didn't want to try to excrete anything until we had a really good process of getting things out.
That's a really good point, actually, because it's pointless trying to detox from
Yeah.
heavy metals or whatever until you're feeling strong. because it's going to make you feel weaker. So you've got to be in a strong position before you can start the detox. Yeah.
And so we're getting there. It took me about 6 months to stop burping when I ate. I needed digestive enzymes. I needed to learn to eat relaxed. I needed to learn to eat slower because we're always in the car with our fast food. We stuff it in our mouth and drive off. And, I had to change the way I approached food, the way that I approached meals. And so it took about 6 months to really stop all the burping, which was a sign that I didn't have enough stomach acid. I needed to build that up first. So if we've gotten through that point, we needed to make sure that we work on liver and gallbladder function and making sure that we're, getting those digestive properties out into the intestines so that we can break down those nutrients, and then we can start binding some things. I know 3 types of candida we're working on right now. I have SIBO, so I don't know if you're familiar with small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. I have that. I have group B strep in my intestines. I have, that's overgrown. I have so many layers.
Let's talk about the ferments you've got in your life then. What ferments do you use? Because that's the surefire way to the good guys in the ferments. I don't like the good guy, bad guy analogy, but it is what it is. The pathogens are there for a reason, aren't they? Dr. Natasha tells us that the Candida, for instance, is really good at chelating heavy metals. So thank you, Candida, for helping me get these heavy metals out of my system. How can I help you? Rather than thinking that Candida's trying to eat me, that kind of attitude. Yeah, it isn't conducive to healing to think of these parasites as things that are sucking your energy. They're not. They're actually like the cleaners, and Dr. Tasha imagines them hoovering up all the rubbish inside us and helping us to excrete them.
Right. And we just have to keep everybody in balance is the challenge, just keeping everybody in check. So ferments for me. Yeah, ferments for me, I do sauerkraut. I get a really good, my problem, when I first started GAPS, I was so sick, I couldn't even hold a knife in my hand to chop anything. So my daughter, who's 15, I couldn't make my own ferments. I was being rolled to the dinner table in a wheelchair. So I don't want to hear anybody's excuses for why they can't do this, right? Not one excuse, none. And my 15-year-old I would instruct her. She did the grocery shopping with my husband. And I would say I was in her pictures of what I wanted, and she would bring it home. So she made all of my stock pot, all of those things were done by my teenager for me. And that my kids would say every day, Mom, have you had your stock? No, let me go get it. And they would warm my stock for me and they would bring it to me. You have to commit to the process, right? You have to say, this is what I'm doing. I don't have a choice. I'm going to die if I don't do something. So I'm doing it. Okay. So ferments for me, because I couldn't make my own. I'm just too weak, too tired. I do kraut, but I get it from the store, but it's raw. It's got all the probiotics. It's wonderful. So I have that. I do yogurt. In the United States, it's really hard to get raw milk. They don't want us to have it here. It's very difficult to find. So I either do a non-homogenized dairy if I can find it. If not, I just get a good organic live active cultures yogurt. I've done kefir, but
Can I ask you then, do you not ferment your own yogurt? Because we're supposed to do our own 24-hour ferment.
Yes, and I have tried and failed miserably about 3 times, but I'm not done trying. I have a really hard time with my ferments. And that's the thing, is that if you can't do it perfectly, you just do what you can and then you try again. Right.
So, everyone who's just showed up, they'd get an A+ for even trying, well done. It was just little steps. Just try this, try that, keep going.
I make my own apple cider vinegar so I have done that. And now I am making my own kraut. So I've got my own kraut going. I've done beet kvass. I have done, and I kind of rotate things because I get tired of the same things. I've done the 24-hour fermented cream. I've done that, and and I eat it for a long time. And then I'm like, okay, maybe I'll go to kefir for a while just to have something kind of different, a different flavor profile. But I do lots of them. I try to get them in, multiple times a day. I try to eat them multiple times a day.
Right. That's the ticket, because Becky Plotner's book on the subject of shop-bought probiotics compared with homemade food-based probiotic foods is just off the scale. The sauerkraut, the sour cream, the yogurt, and everything. It's like, hundreds of thousands of trillions of colony forming units in a portion compared to the pills, which are just like 2 billion, and they're fast asleep. They're in stasis, the
Yeah.
pills,
Right.
So, yeah.
And you may have to go slow with those homemade ones because they're very powerful. And you may notice that you get a lot of negative symptoms. My mother-in-law she made me kraut. I love her heart. She was trying to help me. So she made me some kraut and she gave me a whole bowl. I don't know. It was probably 250 grams of kraut and I ate it. And I was like, it was delicious. Do you know how long I was sick? 4 days of diarrhea from that bowl of sauerkraut. Can't do that. You have to treat it like it's medicine, just a little at a time. Don't.
Too much, too fast, man.
I told her later, I was like, we're going to have to put that in your medicine cabinet and not in your kitchen cabinet because it was just, if you have a broken down digestive system, you can't do it too quickly.
I love it that we're laughing about this. I love it that we can make light of it and laugh about it. And we really are talking about life and death situations here. But you've got to laugh. You've got to kind of like, I'm gonna die, so I'm gonna do the best I can until
I refused. And the thing was is that what GAPS did for me was it gave me something to focus on besides dying. Because what I was doing up to this was sitting in the recliner and looking out the window and watching my children play in the yard and thinking, how many more days can I watch my children before that's my last day? And you just don't know. And so I wasn't going to do that. And so what I had to have a choice. Just didn't have a choice. Sorry. So it was, it gave me something to focus on. Every therapy was like, I got up in the morning and I would say, okay, did I get a good breakfast? Now have I had my ferments? Where's my ferments? Where's my fats? Right. And then I get into my other therapy. So I do castor oil packing. I do coffee enemas. I do other things to support my body. So I would move into what's my next therapy? Now, where are my supplements? I only take about 6 different vitamins and really all they are is they're digestive enzymes. There are things to help my gut break down my food. I'm not taking long lists of any kind of vitamins or supplements. And I spend all of my days doing the next right thing, right? That's all any of us can do is sometimes I didn't make a great food choice. Maybe I had to get through those sugar cravings. I did that with your fat bomb frosting. One day I ate an entire pint of fat bomb frosting and did not care. Had a spoon, just eating it out of the jar. And that's something that you learn in the course. And until those sugar cravings left me, I had to have the tools the kind of tools that you teach in a practical way for a body that was weak and tired and broken, but I could still do what I needed to do. So if anybody's watching this and you are in a wheelchair, you are so tired you can't get out of the chair, you are in bed, you are so sick, you can get out. You can get out. And and the meat stock for me was such a game changer. If I hadn't had my stock pot, and I don't get 5 cups a day, maybe I will eventually, but I get a couple, 1 or 2 sometimes is all I get, but that's better than none. And it took about 2 weeks of doing that. And I told my husband one day, I said, I feel a little stronger. I feel a little stronger. And now my stock pot it's a constant. If we're out of stock, there's a problem,
It's like the cauldron of magic power potion, isn't it? It's been demonized really with the witches and but that is the pot that we would have all had on the stove before the dawning of the age of the fridge and before the dawning of the age of preservatives. Everything would have been fermented or boiled in the stock pot, in the big pot. Just throw in the herbs, throw in the garlic, and drink that liquid. It's going to serve us well. You are such an inspiration, Rachel. It's so wonderful. It's just amazing. The life force that's just coming out of you. It's really like, yes.
Having your life taken away from you and then given back to you changes you. It changes your view of things. I've been a driven businesswoman for many years now. Before I got sick, my life was really focused on that success, and that was what mattered to me. And now I don't care. It changes everything about what matters. And I'm just so happy to be able to do simple things, with my children, to take them to, if we need to go somewhere, mom's not in the wheelchair, nobody has to push her, mom walks. you know. That was always my fear, was that I would lose the ability to care for my kids.
Yeah, right. That's a really driving force, isn't it?
Hmm. It
Just
is.
briefly, how much of your healing journey do you attribute to gaps?
If I stuck just to the food component, I would say probably 75 to 80%. Sleep, stress management, all of those things matter tremendously for healing as well. But I'd say food is 75% of it, really. And it because I wasn't getting better. I was getting worse. I was just progress every month. I was worse and worse and worse. And then, I wasn't. So, and that was that. The only real change there was gaps. So, and I still have so much to go. This is going to be years of healing for me. This is not something that's going to, and I'm only in the early stages. I guess I'm 9 months in. And so I look forward to proving every doctor wrong. Everyone who said this is your fate, this is what's going to happen, there is no cure, and there may not be a cure, but there's control, there's management, there's choice, yeah, and there's power that goes back to you. When you get sick, you lose all your power, all your control, and that feels really, really scary, to just sit and wait for it to just take you. And I like no, we all would like having control, having that back and being able to dictate. So when I have a flare up, because I still have days when things will flare and days I don't feel well and things are happening, I know what to do. I'm like, where's my stock? Stock, extra rest, extra water, extra. I have tools now.
Another coffee enema. I love coffee enemas.
Yes. Oh, my coffee enemas are the best thing ever. You got a headache, coffee enema. If you're tired, coffee enema. They're wonderful. And so I have tools in an arsenal that I don't have to sit and just lay there and say, oh, this is the end. Here we go. I say, where's my tools? Let me get my tools out here and help my body. And usually a flare, if a flare was a week before, now it's just a day. And the next day I'm fine again. And, they're shorter and less severe.
Dr. Natasha reminds us that inflammation is part of the healing process. So whatever your inflammation might be it eczema or a headache or asthma or hives or whatever, that inflammation, that pain that's coming from that inflammation is actually the body trying to do some healing. And so actually, if we can look at it and go, whoa, I'm really feeling it today. Thanks, body, actually, for helping me heal. I'm going to respect you. I'm going to go and lie down. I'm not going to try and put a sticking plaster on my symptoms. I'm going to just fully embrace them and do what I can to help you detox and help the inflammation, like a hot salt bath,
I stopped looking at my flares from a place of fear. Because in my case, every time I had a flare, I thought sometimes when I was sick before, I'd have a flare and then it would never go away. It would just be a new level of problem for me, a new level of disability. And so I used to, every time I have a flare, I think, oh no, here we go. Another, it's going to get me. It's going to be another thing. And now when I have a flare, I go, oh, that's just today. This is just today. And tomorrow I don't have to worry because it's going to go away. It does every time. And it always does. But, it's just, I've learned to look at it with more peace, because if you walk around every day, just about every moment, you'll never heal.
That's exactly it. Fear is the biggest killer. That's the truth. Fear is the biggest killer. So Rachel, now I'm so thrilled to see you on your feet and up and atom.
Yes.
And, I'd love it if you could tell people a little bit about your business and where they can find stuff out about your lovely work.
Sure. So I blog at feastandfarm.com. The blog is it's not all gaps, but it's created for people who need a stepping stone between eating all drive-through fast food to more wholesome, and then they can move on from me, because I am not an all or nothing person. I've never been good at diving into something new and making it stick. I have to do it a little at a time, and I have to do it that my family would never work that way. If you were used to eating junk food constantly, and then you walked in one day with a bag of kale and some beets and said, hey everybody, here's dinner, your kids are going to go, What's wrong with you? Not eating that. And then everybody's mad and everybody's stressed and fussing and hungry and ooh. So at Feast and Farm, I teach people beginning steps to getting away from, you know, a lot of white flour and white sugar and sodas and just all the processed food, and beginning to figure out what they're eating. And I know at least here we've assumed that because the food is on the grocery store shelf that it's healthy, and that somebody made sure that was good for us or it wouldn't be on the shelf, which is not true. Not true. And so I try to help beginners make that move, and then when they're ready for something more strenuous or more strict than what I teach, they can move to another method. So
Brilliant.
that's what I try to do.
That's just what the world needs. It's wonderful. So thanks for joining us today. I'm going to stop the recording now, but stick around because I want to say hello to you, but I'm just going to say goodbye to our listeners. So thank you so much for being with us, Rachel. It's such an inspiration, and you're going to give hope to so many people. I just know it. So thank you.
Thank you.